Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome back to another Club 100 SP60 video, this time at Ellough Park, up in the northeast of England, where for the first time this year we've actually had some proper changeable conditions. It wasn't the warmest day, but it had been raining the day before. It tried raining throughout the course of today, and it definitely rained the day after the sprints for the lightweights. It dried up for us a little bit, but it stayed wet and greasy. But during qualifying, we were able to put in a pretty good lap, good enough for third. We get bumped up to second after a penalty for Richard Allen put him back into row number 4. So we're on the outside of the grid as we head up towards the start line. We've got Anwar Burrell-Smith on our inside as he inherited pole position off of Richard, and with the track still pretty greasy, being on the outside here, we were either going to get a great run, but not as good as Carl Walker, who just disappeared off into the distance. But we were either going to get a great run or we weren't, and we ended up getting kind of like caught on the outside and just had no chance of getting ourselves back onto the inside through those first 2 right-hand corners. And then we try it around the outside, seeing if we get a bit more grip there, but that didn't seem to work for us, and we don't get the best launch off of the corner. So we've kind of hemorrhaged a few positions off the start of this first race, from second down into 6th or 7th at the moment. And as we come up to finish at the end of that, you can still see that kind of sheen on the surface, so we're having to be quite cautious and make sure that we're not going to be putting the foot wrong, because if we get ourselves a little bit too wide, that wet circuit could absolutely catch you out and send you off into the barriers, which we do not want. That would not be a good start to race number 1. But we crossed the line. We've managed to stop ourselves from falling any further backwards. We're behind Dan Brew at the moment, and we're seeing what we can do. Now Dan has a little look down the outside of Anwar coming into the hairpin. Nothing doing there, and we were kind of waiting to see if we could make any places based off of any mistakes that happened in front. And as Dan goes to the inside there, either Anwar didn't see it coming or sort of tried to squeeze him a little bit, but on the wet surface the two end up coming together, and we end up inheriting the position of Dan Brewer, and we come behind Anwar, and I don't think he's particularly happy with the kart that he's pulled in this draw, and as you can see, coming off the corner there, we're able to get up the inside of him, and going into the double right-hander, we've secured that position off. So a bit of a bad luck there for Anwar with the kart draw. Normally the Club 100 karts are absolutely on song, but occasionally, I suppose just with anything, it's possible to get one that isn't quite up to snuff. So hopefully he gets a better one in the next one. We're coming up on Alex Pritchard now, who takes a really nice line through the first corner, but because we took a slightly deeper line, we were able to maintain the engine revs a little bit higher, which means we got a slightly better launch off the corner. So the actual line through the corner, we'd probably say Alex's looked a little bit cleaner than ours, but because we were able to keep those revs up, we could get the better launch off, and that helped us get that overtaking move going into the double right-hander. So it's a pretty lonely race after that point. The front view cleared off, but as we come through the very fast left and right kink, we had a back market bit of traffic that spun in front of us, and I wanted to take a moment to sort of have a talk through my thinking. So we can see here, he's spun and he's stopped in the middle of the circuit. Behind him, safe, he's not going to go backwards, but in front of him, we've gone with a bit of red, because there is enough space there for a kart to come through, but only if it stays open. Now, if you're the spinning traffic here, you don't want to start being unpredictable. Be as predictable as possible. So as you see karts coming towards you, if you're spun in the middle of the circuit, the best thing you can do is stay still, because that is lovely and predictable, and people are able to base their reactions off what you do. But as we can see here, as we go for that gap that is in front, the driver's trying to get out the way, but he's decided to pull in front. And this isn't there to knock on that driver at all. It's more so just to do a bit of education. So if you're a spinning driver and you're in the middle of the circuit and there's enough space in front of you, leave it open, because some drivers may try and take it. But nothing bad came of that in the end. We got slowed down a little bit, but it wasn't too bad. So we come over the line in P5, I think we were, in the end. So we're about to move on to race number 2. Now for race number 2 in the SP60, you will start where you finished the previous race. So we'll be starting in P5 this time, so on the inside for turn number 1. And as you can see there, we've got Carl Walker, got the brilliant start in race number 1, sat in front of us. We've got Richard Allen, did a good job coming through after his penalty in qualifying to go through and win race number 1. And Andrew O'Neill, solid as always, on the outside of him. going into the first corner. So as we try to get a good launch off the line, we are left for dust. We got absolutely no drive coming off the start of that race, and we've got karts going around the outside of us. Coming across us, we get our nose taken off there, accidentally, of course. Absolutely no intent there from Alex. I think he had to try and get out the way of Tim Williams, who was on his outside, and then that just meant he ended up in my path on the inside. So a bit of a coming together, but no harm, no foul. And we've dropped a few positions off the start already. As you can see, coming off the corners, trying to accelerate in this kart, we didn't really have it already. So possibly we've pulled the same kart that Anwar had in race number 1. Maybe not, but it definitely feels like it to start off the race, and we're already starting to get a little bit worried. As we can see, the karts in front, after not quite a full lap, they've already started disappearing. And this would be the case for race number 2. We didn't get the luck of the draw in this one, as you can see. Got a move put on us going into the inside of turn number 1. We tried to cut back going into the double right-hander, and we're able to this time with the benefit of having the line on the inside, but we're under pressure already, and what we can hope for is for the drives in front to get pretty fight with each other and slow each other down. But in these longer format races, most of the top guys in front know that there's absolutely no point fighting now. Just try and pull away from everyone else and make it a smaller field as possible that you're going to be battling with at the end of the race. So we can see that they've already disappeared a few laps into this one, and we lose 2 places as we cross the line later on in this race. And we're doing our best to try and hold on to the slipstream, because that's going to be our only friend, I think, in this race. If we can stay in the slipstream, we might be able to keep ourselves safe from attack. But we're able to catch up, which is good. As you can see there, when you're fighting with karts in front, it really does slow you down, especially through the tight twisty bits like this, because you can't take your optimum line. So we've managed to catch back up into that slipstream, but even in the slipstream, kart in front still pulling away. And as I said, it's not particularly good news for us if we're losing time when we're sat in the slipstream as well. So if we can try and keep up through the fast speed corners, then hopefully we won't lose too much coming off the low speed. But there we've lost 2, 3, maybe even 4 kart lengths coming off that hairpin, and a few laps later we weren't able to stick with that kind of pace with the issues we were having at the low end. Tim Williams comes flying through on the inside. We give him the space to make sure that we weren't losing too much time ourselves, because if we start battling, we're slow already. It's just going to make it even worse for us. And there's Steve Lindley able to squeeze up the inside of us. As we go to the right-hander into that fast left. A really nice corner, that fast left, actually. It's one of my favourite corners, both in the drier conditions as we have here, but then also in the wetter, greasier conditions we end up having on the Sunday afternoon. But yeah, in general, a lovely circuit, Ellough Park, but we're not enjoying it particularly at the moment because we're struggling to keep our head above water. There's another car manages to come through our inside. We tried having a bit of a cutback, but we don't have the power for that, so we end up losing another position and having to go defensive into the penultimate corner, or third one. I'm not sure if you'd call this long sort of sweeping right-hander a final corner on this circuit, but get a little bit of a tap as we go through the final left-hander at least, and that sort of damages our ability to pull onto this straight, and we've lost even more touch with the karts in front of us. So hopefully they can start battling each other. We can see them having a bit of a defending line as they go through the double right-hander, and that will help us catch up a little bit, but we need them to do a lot more than that if we plan on catching up with them. Again, slightly defensive going into the hairpin. That helps us secure the position there, but coming off the hairpin we have to be defensive again, and we've managed to get off there, and we've caught up with Steve. I think Steve had a similar problem to us in this race in that he just wasn't able to get off the slow speed corners, and then that was really hurting him as we try nudging it through the inside of the fast right-hander, but Steve gives us just enough room to keep our nose clean, and we're still on him trying to apply that pressure. He's got him looking over his shoulder, wanting to defend going into this long right-hand hairpin at the end of the lap, looking over the shoulder again, trying to work out where we are, but again, good defensive line there from Steve as he goes into the penultimate corner, and there's nothing for us to do there, so we have to try and make another plan of attack. We're tucked under his bumper, seeing what we can do. As we come through the hairpin there after the fast right-hand corner. We get a decent drive off of it. We're in the slipstream again, but again, Steve is looking to try and be defensive. He opens it up a little bit, so we do go for it, but we end up making contact with Steve, and that wouldn't have been a fair move if we tried to then continue the move and secure it off. So we backed off, but in doing so, the two carts behind us, who had much better momentum than we did, end up scurrying past, and that's kind of the way this race, as you've seen, has been going. As Carolus comes past us there, I think he had a bit of an eventful first race. We'd expect him to be slightly further up the field starting than this one, but he's making his way through well, and we're tucked in behind him to see what we can do if we can catch back up with Steve, which eventually we do. Steve defending into the first corner, we go outside to try and take that better line, maybe get a cut back as we go towards the double right-hander, but he comes off to secure that. We move back over to the left-hand side to get that better line, and we managed to squeeze it up the inside because we could carry a bit more momentum than Steve. So as he started drifting out towards the left, we could cut it back with our better speed in towards the right-hand corner, and we've secured that move off. And we had to go defensive again coming off that hairpin because we just really didn't feel like we had the drive coming off that corner. There's no one in front of us at this point, so it really is a race between me and Steve and anyone that's behind him in the plug that is the number 108 cart that Steve has managed to throw up on his side. We didn't expect that at all. Went for a normal racing line, and Steve just said, "Thank you very much, I'll take that." And we've also had to leave the space on the inside for another cart coming up our inside. We tried to sneak it up the inside of that left-hand corner, seeing as they were stuck towards the right-hand side, the outside of that corner, but nothing doing. And there's another position lost. This is not a particularly successful race number 2 for us. We go deep into the first corner, helped on a little bit by the carts behind, who must have been 2 or 3 wide themselves before they put it up the inside of me. And this is just to say that I was not particularly happy underneath the helmet during this race would be a bit of an understatement, as there's a very forceful move put on the cart in front, who then decides to let it go back through, but of course I didn't know that was going to happen. So I'm following him through, trying to take advantage, and as he gets off the throttle in front of us, we end up getting trapped and knock into the back of him, which then slows our momentum right down to a stop pretty much, and we lose another position out of that. So this is an educational course on how one problem can very quickly lead to another, and we've gone from 5th on the grid to pretty much we're near the back now. It's I'm not sure exactly where we were at this point, but it definitely wasn't near the front where we would like to be. Managed to get a move up the inside going into turn 1, but the cart on the outside is still there, so we can't take our optimum line going to double right-hander, but we are able to secure it off as we do go through those 2 corners. Again, that's a really nice fun part of the circuit as well. A little bit of joy to come from this race number 2. We're catching back up, and 2 carts going side by side through this double right-hander. That allows us to get up the inside and secure that move off as we go towards the hairpin. We don't feel the need to have to go defensive. We did have to leave a little bit of space because the cart we'd just overtaken was trying to come back at us, so we left that space. And in all this, Steve must have been doing plenty of fighting of his own, because he's come back into our clutches, and we know that he'd managed to sort of clear off a little bit whilst I was having the troubles. And we're going to see what we can do here as we come towards the sort of tail end of the race at this point. Steve's still doing some good defensive work, but in going so tight into that first corner, he left himself open for that cutback move. And we're going to try and follow through the driver in front, a little bit like we did to Steve on our own a few laps ago. We managed to squeeze it through on the inside. We keep it tight going in towards the hairpin to make sure he doesn't get any ideas about putting it right inside there. And we need to be making sure we're thinking about that possible move going in towards the next hairpin right-hander. Crossing the line, driver in front takes that defensive line. We go towards the left to try and open the corner up. They realise that we've done that, so they start coming over as well. Absolutely fine, as long as they didn't make another move towards the inside. If we decided to go for it, that would be absolutely not the thing to do, but they didn't, we didn't, so we carry on to see if we can try and make this move on the last lap, going through the hairpin, trying to get as much momentum as possible, knowing that we're going to be weak off of it. And being in the slipstream now, we didn't really have enough to pull alongside, but we've got enough to try and stay close. So if we can get a good run through this right-hander, we might be able to have a go going in towards this right-left complex at the end of the lap, but we weren't quite there. You can see it's starting to get quite dry in places now, and throwing it at the inside on the wet parts would have just been bad news for us. But as we come across the line, we end up not able to make that place, and we had to settle for being at the back. But having said that, considering it was the first time at this circuit, it was a brilliant day. Fantastic circuit. Very much looking forward to coming back next year. And to have not the best luck of the draw, this is pretty much the first time all year that we've had that situation. So going 10 rounds in, that's not too bad, and had some good racing out of it. So hope you enjoyed, and until next time, have a good one.